Yes, XRP is going places and there's a lot happening, especially in the payments and the ISO 222 field, right? But I think that some of us are getting a little bit carried away, and you would have seen some statements that aren't actually true, but they sound true and people are running with them. And unfortunately, sometimes this causes misinformation and sometimes disillusionment because, if this were to be true, then surely this should have affected the price of XRP, which it didn't, even amidst the global sort of downturn and Bitcoin dragging everybody to the gutter. Something like this being true you would see it on the charts, right? It would basically spike the charts, even if it's a sell the news situation, right? And I'm talking about the so-called or the alleged integration of XRP into SWIFT, okay? Now, this analyst, I suppose, is an analyst. That's what the internet claims. Smoke says something here on social media, which is actually true. What his analyses here are correct, by the way, but people have gone and reinterpreted what he said in other ways, and I'll show you in a minute, right? As ISO 222 payments instructions become more common on the network, so will XRP's use case within SWIFT compatible systems. That's true. The Earth port diagram shows XRP listed alongside SWIFT under payment instructions. True. Which refers to the data used to move money, fiat or crypto. That's just facts, right? Ripple documents further confirm that XRP-based payments rely on ISO 222 compliant instructions, ensuring interoperability with the SWIFT network. Again, a fact, okay? So we already know that the Ripple payment system and XRP and the XRP ledger are ISO 222 compliant. That's sort of a known thing, right? This diagram shows some of the messaging and how this could be compatible with SWIFT, because SWIFT itself is ISO 222 compliant, or at least it's got an API compliance module that connects to that system. Okay, so in theory, messages from or using the Ripple network can flow into SWIFT via APIs and stuff because of the compatibility. So he then shows some documents, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so that's the analysis. That's the post that Smoke made on social media. All factual, no hyperbole, no fake news, no nothing. And then that leads to articles like this one, where XRP listed alongside SWIFT under payments instructions. Here's the big deal. Again, breaks down why that's a big deal. The evolving landscape of global payments is entering a transformational phase, and XRP is increasingly at its center. A recent post by prominent crypto analyst Smoke on X has reignited attention on, and here's the fake news bit, XRP's integration into SWIFT. Compatible systems could redefine cross-border payments. Okay, now it then goes on to analyze the post made by Smoke. Okay, strategic advantage. While this article is actually a good article, and all of this stuff is true here, the advantages of, SWIFT compatibility, yada, 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 this one statement here, unfortunately, isn't true. XRP is not integrated into SWIFT. And if you type in XRP SWIFT into YouTube, you will be bombarded by a lot of videos of people claiming that, yay, confirmed, XRP integrated into SWIFT, or XRP buying, Ripple buying SWIFT. SWIFT is now XRP, just ridiculous claims like that. And this couldn't be farther from the truth. XRP isn't integrated into SWIFT. What's actually happening is SWIFT and XRP are interoperable via third parties and APIs that are ISO 222 compatible. Now, Brad Garlinghouse in the past has talked about working with Swift rather than replacing Swift. I made some videos, in one of my walking videos, especially, I mentioned how it seems like Ripple's intentions are not to completely eliminate existing systems, but cooperate with the ones that can be cooperated with, upgrade the ones that need to be upgraded, and collaborate with ones that are, efficient enough or maybe aren't efficient enough to make them more efficient using, Ripple's infrastructure and technology, right? So yes, in future, we might see such a time when XRP, the currency, the token, becomes integrated in Swift as a currency. But as of now, what's happening is there are third parties that use the Swift system that do use RippleNet or Ripple's messaging. So we have Ripple messages that are flowing through the Swift network. Now, what I also did was I gathered about 25 articles about this, including some documentation from Ripple and from Swift themselves. I'm not going to show you all that now, but I whacked them into an AI program and sum up as truthful a summary as possible from all the data that's been fed. So I fed it a whole bunch of stuff, and it basically came up with what I think, right? Pretty much. And here's a screenshot of the output, right? So the claim is that XRP is speculated to be integrated into Swift's payment system. And according to the analyses of this Perplexity AI, verdict is no, not true. No direct XRP integration into Swift core services, e.g. GPI, third-party platforms like EastNet, which I've talked about on this platform, on this channel, uses Ripple messaging, but not XRP as a Swift currency. Now, EastNet and other services are a backdoor via which Ripple has been able to get into FedNow, etc. Right? So because of the ISO 222 compatibility and the indirect use of RippleNet, Ripple messages have been making it into FedNow and Swift for a while. Okay, so it's not even that new a thing. So, but not XRP itself. All right. And key developments apparently are EastNet's payment safe, uses Ripple messaging technology, not XRP per se, for Swift connected platforms. And it's been doing this since 2017. So again, like I said, this is not something new. No core Swift integration though. So in, Swift's GPI, there is no integration of XRP or anything specific, right? So ISO 222, Ripple's compliance aligns with Swift's standard, but no XRP mention in Swift's plans. So in all of the documents I fed into it from Swift, including some of the PDFs that they put out on their website, it hasn't found any particular mention of XRP in their plans. Now, this doesn't mean that they're not talking in the back and they just haven't written anything down on their website, but it just couldn't find any direct link. And trust me, if you found a link, it would say Swift's digital assets focuses on Chainlink, CCIP, and CBDCs, and not XRP. Again, we know that Swift has been working with Chainlink to serve as access into the blockchain world as an oracle, just like most non-crypto, non-blockchain establishment companies are doing at the moment. So at the moment, not working with XRP ledger, but rather with Chainlink, okay? Now, Vivo Power's 100 million odd XRP buy that boosts adoption, but is unrelated to Swift. The reason why this is included here is because there was an article that someone wrote that tried to link Vivo Power's use of the XRP ledger and the purchase of XRP as reserve currency somehow to the Swift payment systems and credit cards and stuff. So I fed all of that stuff into the Perplexity AI, and basically it says it's unrelated, okay? Ripple's partnerships has found to be American Express, Santander, Ondo Finance, but not Swift integration. While American Express, Santander, and other banks that Ripple works with also use, obviously, the Swift network, which again is a third-party collaboration, if you think about it. There is no direct link from Swift directly into XRP or the XRP ledger or what have you. Yes, there'll be messaging that will be bridged across American Express, say they use Swift for one thing, they use RippleNet for the other. And again, who knows, in future, this might become something that's more integrated. But as it is now, unfortunately, guys, XRP integrated into Swift can be basically treated maybe not as fake news, full-on fake news, but it's definitely misinformation and a little bit of hopium. Having said that, we know for sure that Garlinghouse and the people at Swift are talking and looking at ways to collaborate better with each other. Not financial advice, do your own research. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.